Hi everybody, welcome back to the channel. So this video is going to be about why we did what we did, and that is basically starting a new life here in Poland. So I've touched on kind of our previous life in the UK, but I wanted to do a kind of dedicated video to what we are doing here. And we lived in the UK in Scotland. Typical life, had the wee 2-bed house with a box room, end terrace, mortgage, car on lease, both in jobs, and we were happy. Everything was going fine. We had a wee girl, we have a wee girl, and the lockdowns came along and messed up everybody's life, some worse than others. And we kind of had a wake up call and we decided we needed a change. So it was obviously going to be a lot easier to move to an English speaking country because I spoke English and my wife had come to Scotland and learnt it. So we looked at Australia and Canada. As America really wasn't an option. It's very difficult to get into there. It's difficult to get in Australia and Canada, but America was almost a no-go. And we weren't too keen about moving there because we didn't really have any experience with it. So I'd lived in Canada and we opted to try and immigrate to Canada originally. We hit a few brick walls and put quite a bit of money into it, but still we're getting nowhere, sadly. So we pulled the plug on that and we decided, why don't we go to Poland? At first it seemed like a crazy idea because I didn't speak Polish. Our wee girl spoke quite limited Polish, and so there would be a lot of pressure on my wife to keep everything going. However, we decided the Scotland wasn't going anywhere for us or our daughter. So yeah, we decided let's go. We started looking at properties in Poland. My wife's mother comes from Śląski region, but my wife wanted to be in the Małopolski region for certain reasons. So we started looking around and we took 3 trips to Poland. Dragged the wee girl to Poland to look at property, which wasn't too exciting for her, not much of a holiday, but we had to look at these properties and make some assessments on the budget we had available to ourselves, because we had planned to do this without a mortgage and be mortgage free. We don't want that burden anymore. So we set off. We looked at a few houses over the trips. It was just over a year. We were travelling back and forth looking at houses and we just couldn't find houses. We were looking at lands as well with the intention of building a house and maybe renting an apartment. But trying to find land was quite difficult. I wanted quite a large piece of land. There's quite a lot of restrictions in Poland, with Poland trying to protect itself from international buyers, which is great. I totally agree with it. It proved challenging for us. You know, if you buy over a hectare, which is just over 2 acres, and you can be tied into quite a period, a contract, before you can sell it on again. So there was situations like that. So we looked at houses with a bit of land under a hectare and we just couldn't find property with the right land, and we thought we were just on to going nowhere. And then something did pop up, which was great. So it was in Małopolskie, so it ticked one box. It was actually a house for renovation, and it had a small house on a bit of the land, plus quite a substantial field. So we felt it ticked all the boxes. House for renovation, a small house to live in while I renovated it, and land to start our small holding and be self-sufficient, and all which we could buy without the need of credit or a mortgage. So we went for it, we got it, and we were pretty happy that we'd secured it. But if we turn back the clock, there was reasons for doing this move. Like I said, it kind of hit us with the lockdown. We realised the world was becoming a bit unstable. If lockdowns could become a regular occurrence, how would money be brought in? How could bills be paid? It just was red flags for us. So we had to think of ways to eliminate the debt. And that was quite a big driving factor. Even before that, I'd always dreamt of having a remote property and doing kind of a bed and breakfast, taking guests out into the mountains. This kind of all came off the back of me travelling to Canada, living in the mountains, being kind of isolated and away from it. So there was always something in the back of my head. The property we had just purchased was in a small village, so it wasn't too isolated, but that was one of the requests of my wife. She didn't want to be completely isolated, and I understand her for that. And we didn't want our daughter to be too isolated. You know, she needs to have her friends and social interaction. It's important for her development. But it gave the land which ticked the box for me, which was great, and I could develop that and then renovate the house at the same time as well. It wasn't going to give us complete off-grid independence, because there were services close by and we had to be connected to them. We do have our own well, which is great. It never dries out. We have a spring on the land. We're very fortunate for that, because I think after a shelter over your roof, water is very important. We have electricity to the plot, so we can cook and heat, and we have a septic tank, so waste is taken care of. Now, this property wasn't perfect. Having your own well can create complications and difficulties. If it gets contaminated, it needs filtered. Septic tanks need emptied. Electricity from the grid can bring problems. There's been power cuts and we've been out of power. So it's not perfect, the property, but it was definitely a step in the right direction. So like I said, we went for the property, we got it, and we got the land as well. The next stage was to get rid of the house in the UK and Scotland, so we got rid of that. It sold really quickly. The place we used to live, I was in quite high demand from, especially a lot of English coming to the town, because it's a small, very safe, quiet, peaceful town, and it's great for bringing up families, great for the elderly. So we sold it within 2 weeks. So as you can imagine, we were ecstatic, we were really over the moon. It didn't drag out, and we got the sale done, and we were out of there, I think approximately 4 weeks later. I wanted, because we have a car and we opted to pay it off and bring it to Poland, I wanted us, the three of us plus the dog, to road trip it from Scotland to Poland, and I thought it would be quite a good experience for my wife and my daughter. I've done quite long road trips in Canada, and they are great fun if they're well planned and you have a good vehicle, it's comfortable. So I really wanted the girls to experience that. However, we opted for a different idea. Because our wee girl is not a great traveller, we flew, my wife and wee girl, to Poland, and I set off with the dog and a full car, as much as I could get in the car anyway, because we'd sent the rest with a courier company, removals company. So I set off with the dog in the car and on my way to Poland. I headed down through southern Scotland into England, past Newcastle, and worked my way down the east coast, past York, outskirts of London, and across to Dover. Spent the night there, done that in one trip, spent the night there and got an early ferry, first ferry across into France. Over the next, I think it was 3 days, I worked my way across Europe, towards Poland and towards my wife's mother's apartment in Slonsky. And it was a great journey, really good fun. Great to drive on the roads. The roads through Germany were amazing, and the scenery through France, Germany and Poland was just amazing, and it was a great experience, and I'd do it all over again if I could. Maybe I will, we'll see. But fast forward a bit, not to bore you, but got to my mother-in-law's, we stayed there and then went down to Malopolskie, arranged the finalisation documents of the property and the land, and we moved there a couple of weeks later, and that was us in Poland to start a new life. So I'll take you on a wee tour of the house and the large house that was to renovate, the small house where we live, and the land that was to get developed. So this is the house that we purchased, the house for renovation that we'd hoped to renovate, and you can see the view. We were sold on the view, this complete uninterrupted view, quite a lot of privacy, which was lovely for us and something we thought we'd never be able to achieve. But this is the house, and you can see the small house at the end, which we'll go into later. But I'll take you into the big house now. So that's our well that's fed by a spring. So as you can see, we've got it as a kind of storage. But two families, well, Mum and Dad lived on one side of the house, and the 4 girls lived on the other side of the house, and it was divided by this hall, which was the bathroom, and then up to the attic, which is just an attic, pretty much exactly the same on this side. This would have been kitchen, can't really see it because of all my stuff. But there is beds there, seating area, so kitchen, kind of living room, and then the bedroom, again full of stuff, but both sides exactly the same and lovely views. So we plan to renovate this by taking what's middle wall down and opening it up, and then the bedroom's upstairs, but it was just going to be too big a job. So we'll go to the small house now. So this is the small house, very small as you can see, kitchen, living room, and we eat here as well, wee stove, TV. Through the bedroom, which we share, hopefully not for much longer. I think our wee girl is going to throttle us. So, window looks out. That's the kind of washing area for the kitchen. And bathroom. The window looking out the back. So quite compact, but if it gets us into that house, we'll do what we need to do. In the veranda. Where Coco sleeps, insulated it all with polystyrene. And firewood and jackets. Cozy. So this is the entrance to our field. There's Coco. We had to put this road in because it's really soft soil here, but it's really high quality and it's really good for growing. But I'll do all that in another video. I wanted to take you on just a wee tour of the field as part of this video and show you what we've got. So, if I've not mentioned already, the field is 6,600 metres square. Southern facing, drops away, I don't know the incline, but drops away, has neighbours on the east and west, direct neighbours, but neighbours on the west, it's just forest land, so it's not like there's even any houses there. He is keen to put houses in there, or two anyway, for his grandchildren, but they're quite big bits of land. You probably won't even see the house in. But you can see as we walk down here on the west side, drops away into a valley there. Just a small valley, but a wee bit of character to the property. We've got half of that. These are all aronia bushes that we moved in from the upper part when we first came here. And this is the bottom part of the field, which looks quite far out down the valley. It's really quite lovely. Quite lovely views. I just trimmed all this just to tidy up a bit because I thought there was a tractor coming in to cut the rest of the field, but we changed our mind. We're just leaving it at the moment. Coco loves running about here. We've got electrical posts going right through the land, but it's not a problem. We don't actually mind. You can see as we look across there, quite unspoilt. I'm planning to take down these willows because to open the view for the new house we're building and just keep them in check by a lower kind of level. They're just out of control. The land was quite neglected for, I think it was about roughly 10 plus years. They had another well here, but this well's no use, so I'm just going to knock it in. It's just a hazard, there's no point in it being there. It dries right up. I've monitored it over the year of being here, and it's useless. And actually it was a dumping ground. All that rubbish was in that well, so I need to get rid of that. A bit disappointing, but it is what it is, so that needs to go. And you can see looking back up the field, that's the new house that we're building there. You can see the old house behind it. So it's not too steep the land, it's workable. I can work with it, and it's quite nice. And it's got that southern exposure, and it should be really good for growing. Plus the class of the land. I always forget, but I think it's a class 3, the soil here. We were always very surprised that it was actually allowed to be converted over to Budolana, because it was Rolna. But they managed to convert it over somehow, and they have the MZM pit, which, if there's any Polish viewers watching this, they will know how important that is for building. So yeah, we could fill this field full of houses if we wanted. Well, it's maybe an exaggeration, but we could put a few houses here, but we're not going to do that. The point of buying this land was to turn it into a small holding and be self-sufficient, more independent, and control where our food comes from. So it's nice and healthy and quality and good for our daughter. Sorry if I'm breathing a bit heavy down the microphone there. Not used to walking about with my waterproofs on and 20-degree heat. It's quite warm again today, but can't deny it's a beautiful piece of land. We're so lucky to have it. And yeah, it's just forest in there. And that's the private road that comes down, which is lovely. So off the main road, no real traffic that you can hear. And it can be so quiet on some days. You just listen to the crickets and the grasshoppers chirping away and the birds singing. Really quite lucky. So, and there you can see the large house and the small house, which sit on their own individual plot. So yeah, that's the land. Hope you like it. As we got settled in, it was great. It was fun to start with because it was a holiday in a way, so and a new adventure. So we'd come across in the summer once, loved our little girl to finish school there and then to start new school here. So we were across in the summer months and it was an extended summer holiday. Just allowed us to enjoy the nice weather, which doesn't happen in Scotland. It's quite miserable all the time, but the summers in Poland are really good. So we started kind of the research pretty quickly on how to look at renovating the house where I'm currently sitting, and we had some people wanting to look, architects, builders, etc., just to get a rough idea, but it really wasn't the dream we planned out for it to be. The house needs underpinned, which didn't scare me. I was happy to do all the underpinning myself. I'd had a small joinery building business back in the UK, self-taught, and not that self-taught for too long. However, I was willing to tackle everything myself and get on with it. And as we kind of dug into the house, it looked like it just had been neglected for too long. Stuff that we didn't pick up on when originally we reviewed it. So you can imagine the disappointment. We'd purchased the property and it wasn't going to work out. Luckily we had the small house, which we were able to live in, and we still do at this point. It's not been built to a great standard. The people that built it, my gut feeling is they really have no experience in what they were doing. But we managed to get it started. It keeps us dry, it keeps us warm, and it feeds us. There's electricity by that, and we can cook there. So it's very compact, and it's cosy. It's sometimes a bit too cosy because too small. So we had to make the decision what to do. The house, the big house, was past renovation. It was going to be too much of a big job, and really not ideal. So we opted to build a tiny home again in the field. So a year in, just over a year, we've not really done that much. We've kind of just settled in, try to get our wee girl settled into Polish life, and we've started the build about 3 months ago. So we're kind of bringing the walls up. Hopefully they'll be done by the end of this week, maybe beginning of next, and the roof will be on, and we'll get the shell closed. and we'll start chipping away at it maybe over the next year, trying to get it nice, and then moving out of the tiny home into our new tiny home, and hopefully demolishing this house and just leaving this land, possibly for our daughter to inherit and build a home on as well. It really will all come down to the financial situation. The plan for the land will be to develop a nice small holding. I'm really interested in permaculture principles and having a greenhouse, quite substantial greenhouse, where I can grow food year round, quite a lot of food. Hope to have chickens, and originally I was hoping to get goats, but I'm kind of swinging towards having some sheep due to the milk being actually of a better quality, and then there'll still be the meat left as well. So that's the plan, and a lot of fruit and veg on the land as well. Since the land is all Budovlana, there is plans to, subject to finances, to put a small rental on the land as well, allow people to come in and teach them. Well, they don't have to, but they can just come and stay as a kind of getaway. But if they're interested, to teach them about the land, how to be more self-sufficient, and not even live off grid, but just be self-sufficient, grow some of your own food and create that bit more of independence. Whether they're living in an apartment with a balcony, you could grow a lot of food on a balcony, or if they have a garden where they could go back and grow some kind of fruit and veg in their garden. Also, it would be good to show people that it is possible to live off grid or be more self-sufficient if you want to put commitments in and maybe make some sacrifices. It can be achieved. We hope to do for water a rain catchment system, put a couple of wells in, one that supports the garden and another which would support the house, and that would give us fresh, clean drinking water, especially with the spring on the land, which is great. Due to our positioning in the land, the location, we do have to be connected to the electrical grid, and that's fine, but we're hoping to put solar panels in over time and a battery bank, so there has been a few power cuts since we've been here, so that would give us independence in a worst case scenario. We were quite keen to not be connected to the sewerage system, the waste system, but again that was going to bring some complications. So with the septic tank and the access, so at this point we just decided to connect to the canalisation, the waste, and we'll review it in coming years and how best to move forward with that. But even though there is still these elements of connection to the grid and bills to be paid, it is still what we set out to do and to give us, and that is freedom. We have more freedom here. We're in more control of our situation, of our home. Nobody controls our home or can take our home. We own it. We own it outright. Yes, if we don't pay the bills, we could be turned off with electric or situations like that, but it's easier to get around that than it is a mortgage on your home. So I'll put some footage in of the land when we first arrived here, but we've cut up the land quite a bit to put the house in and open it up a bit, but nature will come back, and I'll work with nature to make it as beautiful as when we first arrived. So see what you think. So we're back in the big house, the one for renovation. I hope you enjoyed that video, just showing you what got us here, why we done it, and what we've got here to try and build a life for us and our wee girl. But if you've got any comments, you want to know anything more about it, leave comments for me to read, and I'll respond to them, and I will get this other video done about the new house we're trying to build. Well, thanks for your time, and we'll see you in the next one.